Now at 5, our wind has decreased here across northern Utah, but our thunderstorms are increasing. Coming up, the main threats for tonight's storms, and also still lots of fire concerns for southern Utah.
The family of the woman who was shot and killed in an Ogden grocery store parking lot remember her as a kind mother and a good sister. The story coming up.
A Utah high school student cutting down a pride flag as fellow students cheer him on.
I don't think that it was a thinking moment.
See the show of support in response today at 5.
The COVID-19 endgame law may start lifting health restrictions soon.
Face mask exemption cards, complete with the state seal on them, being used to try and avoid mask requirements in Utah businesses.
It's certainly frustrating for us, right? Because it causes confusion.
The only problem, they're fake. What the health department is saying about it.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
What a busy 24 hours we've seen along the Wasatch Front when it comes to the weather. First the wind, and then this morning, the return of snow. This is a look at traffic in Parley's Canyon from earlier this afternoon. Parley's, Big Cottonwood, and Logan Canyons saw closures or delays because of the conditions.
And we'll continue to see more rain and snow all over northern Utah. Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan is in the First Alert Weather Center. Allison.
Yes, just a moment ago, UDOT already putting new restrictions in place for the Cottonwood Canyons. And I'm also tracking some thunderstorms across Utah County mainly. Now, the bulk of our precipitation, Nephi, up towards Salt Lake City. And with the strongest of these cells, especially on the western side of Utah County, we saw hail 1/2 inch in diameter. That storm has been weakening, but we're still seeing quite a bit of lightning through the Provo area currently. Taking a look at I-15, we are seeing that traffic crawling right now through Utah County from Lehigh to Payson in both directions because of the weather. So we're seeing quite a bit of lightning with these cells, bulk of that precipitation here across northern Utah. We also have some scattered showers, mostly lighter rain across south central Utah. And then for southern Utah near the Arizona border, that is where we have dry and breezy conditions and red flag warnings. For the mountains of northern Utah south of I-80, from I-80 down towards Nephi, winter weather advisories are in place until midnight. Same thing for the western Uintas, and red flag warnings for southern Utah until 9 o'clock tonight. So this storm continues. Our downslope wind event is over. That's what caused a lot of the damage earlier this morning. But we are continuing with weather impacts from the storms this afternoon and evening. Your full forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Allison. The Utah Highway Patrol has had its hands full dealing with weather-related problems. They dealt with only a couple dozen crashes along the Wasatch Front, but troopers scrambled with a couple hundred incidents they referred to as public assist calls.
A lot of those bungee cords that are holding ladders that have been weathered throughout the winter are now, they get a little sun damaged and they come undone, and those ladders and things that are just hanging out in the back of pickup trucks that haven't been blown out up to this point, but when we see these 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, they end up getting blown out on the freeway.
There were also plenty of downed trees in many neighborhoods, but this damage was not as widespread as last September's windstorm, Kelly.
And you can track the weather wherever, whenever. Download the free Fox 13 Weather Alert app today to get the latest updates from the Fox 13 First Alert Weather Team, and you'll get those alerts right to your smartphone.
She was an excellent sister, daughter, mother, and friend.
The woman killed by her ex-boyfriend in a grocery store parking lot in Ogden recently is being remembered tonight as a loving and loyal woman who was quick to laugh.
And for the very first time, Mindy Elmore's family speaks publicly. They tell Fox 13's Haley Higgins they're thankful for the love they've been shown by the community.
Mindy was my little sister. I will always remember her laughter and her stories she would tell me. I'm going to miss her companionship, her loyalty, and her love for me.
Flowers accented with Mindy Elmore's favorite color brighten her family's home in Ogden.
It's been really tough.
I'm gonna miss her.
On April 3rd, Mindy was buying Easter dinner at the Smiths on Harrison Boulevard when her ex-boyfriend shot and killed her.
It's very hard. I mean, we understand, but it's hard to deal with,
Police were involved in an hours-long standoff with 34-year-old Seth Gibson, who shot himself and later died.
It's every mother and father's nightmare, something you hope will never happen in your lifetime.
Mindy was one of 5 close sisters. They say she loved snowmobiling and always had something to say. Mindy loved to laugh.
It was very contagious. It would make everyone in the room want to laugh with her, just start smiling.
Since the shooting, the family has been surrounded by community support, including $15,000 coming from a GoFundMe account for her children. Tonight, Mindy's father says he is so thankful for the help.
Not enough words can say how we really feel and love all of their help.
A grieving family supported by their community and complete strangers.
It helps a little bit knowing that she was so loved.
In Ogden, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you or someone you know are victims of domestic violence, call the number on your screen, 1-800-897-LINK, 1-800-897-5465. And if you are in immediate danger, call 911. Nearly 90 days in office, President Biden is announcing all U.S. troops will leave Afghanistan by September 11th.
The Trump administration had made a deal with the Taliban to withdraw by May 1st, but President Biden pushed back the timeline, saying more time is needed. The president's announcement from the same room President George W. Bush first announced the start of the war in Afghanistan is drawing mixed reaction.
Apparently, we're to help our adversaries ring in the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks by gift wrapping the country and handing it right back to them.
So after sinking 2 decades of blood and treasure into wars in the Middle East, it's time to bring our troops home. I applaud President Biden's decision.
The nation's longest, costing the U.S. more than $2 trillion.
As a former Air Force fighter pilot, Utah Congressman Chris Stewart supported U.S. efforts in Afghanistan for many years. Now he believes the U.S. has done all it can do there, and it's time to come home. Is that a strategically wise thing to do, say that on September 11th, the U.S. will be gone?
Yeah, if you're engaged in combat operations, it's clearly a bad idea and one that no president should do. But this is a different scenario in the sense that we're not engaged with combat operations in Afghanistan. We're only there to protect the embassy, which we will continue to do, and to train Afghan troops. The fact that we're withdrawing there doesn't play directly on the battlefield like it would if we were engaged in combat operations.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9, I asked Congressman Stewart whether bringing U.S. troops home now means Utahns who have lost their lives there died in vain. His answer at 9. The United States. This video has been circulating on social media showing a Utah high school student cutting down a pride flag and students cheering him on.
Bob, today parents rallied at Ridgeline High School to show their support to those in the LGBTQ community.
Fox 13's Aaron Cox spoke to parents and students today and joins us now live. Aaron.
Yeah, Bob and Kelly, there's a few things to understand with context here. The pride flag was put up with flags from across the world, countries across the world, as a part of the Students' Diversity Week. And those students say the person who tore down the pride flag was not hateful, it was still hurtful. Looking from the outside, some people make judgments.
I'm part of the LGBT community.
That's what Sid Seeholzer, a senior at Ridgeline High School, has experienced for herself.
People like to belittle the LGBT community.
And it's something Sid wants to make sure doesn't happen to the student caught on camera cutting down a pride flag.
I don't think that it was a thinking moment.
No!
He called me and apologized to me. I think it was a personality lapse.
The pride flag was hanging in front of the Cuban flag, among other countries of the world, for Diversity Week at Ridgeline.
Whenever I go into a place and I see a rainbow flag or something waving, I feel safer.
Watching that safety symbol cut down.
It's racist. It was mostly just a feeling of little bit of panic.
A feeling shared by those in the community.
As someone that went to high school here, I thought it was important to come out and show that you can be whoever you want to be and stay in the valley and grow up and have a happy life here.
A sidewalk full of support.
Any kid at Ridgeline that felt alone yesterday, to know that you have an army of support from people you don't know who love you, and we'll be there showing up for you today, just to say we love you.
Looking from the outside, people may have seen a protest, but really, it's a sight of friends.
And they've been reaching out to me and asked me what they can do to help.
Now, the Cache County School District did release a statement saying they do not condone the cutting down of this flag, which was done without their permission. They say this type of incident reminds us of the importance of continually educating students, not just during a diversity week. Live from Cache Valley, Utah, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The defense in the Derek Chauvin murder trial says George Floyd died from a medical condition. See what one witness had to say today.
Utahns may soon see a lot more than just the mask mandate lifted. What other COVID restrictions may be eased? Coming up.
Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin's murder trial is now eventually this week coming to an end.
The defense called another witness to the stand today who says he believes George Floyd died from a sudden heart rhythm problem.
Court TV's Chanley Painter has the latest from Minneapolis.
The defense's forensic pathologist expert has been on the stand most of today for day 2 of the defense's case in chief. That's Dr. David Fowler. He is the former chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, and he told the jury that he would have categorized George Floyd's manner of death as undetermined and not a homicide.
Did you form, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, what you thought was the principal cause of Mr. Floyd's death?
Yes.
And what is that?
Cardiac arrhythmia due to hypertensive atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease during restraint.
The special attorney for the state of Minnesota, Jerry Blackwell, was quick to set the tone on cross-examination for Dr. Fowler.
Do you agree that as an expert witness, you should be objective, fair, and impartial as best you can?
Yes, I would agree that that's appropriate as best you can.
Do you agree that in the background research you do to testify, that you should be thorough?
Yes.
Meaning you should do your homework before you arrive at your opinion. Fair enough?
Yes.
Now, the defense may rest its case in chief possibly today or tomorrow. The judge telling the jury we could be in closing arguments as early as Monday. That's the latest from here in downtown Minneapolis. I'm Chanley Painter with Court TV.
Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption could be gone if Utah Senator Mike Lee gets his way. Details on a new bill he's introduced.
And mosquito abatement in Utah and its possible negative effects on unborn babies and infants. What a new study says, coming up. Hope you're staying warm and dry on this gloomy Wednesday. Take a look, everyone. Live look. We've got more snow falling right now in Big Cottonwood Canyon. No cars driving up the canyon right now. We've also had reports of half-inch size hail falling in Utah County. A lot going on this evening. Allison Krogan will have your full forecast coming up in just a moment.
In the meantime, Utah Senator Mitt Romney is working on, quote, reversing the tide on authoritarianism in the United States. Senator Romney hosted a virtual event today with a bipartisan task force with research focused on what they say is the worldwide decline in democratic freedom that could endanger U.S. national security. The task force released its latest report today. Senator Romney says there are some improvements that need to be made.
I think we got to be far more effective in marketing who we are and what freedom represents to people. Look, we can convince people to spend almost a day's wage to buy a can of Coca-Cola, and yet we can't convince them to fight for freedom necessarily.
The report from Freedom House, titled Out of Sight, Not Out of Reach, can be found on our website, fox13now.com.
Today, Senator Mike Lee is speaking out about the MLB's decision to move the All-Star Game out of Atlanta. The organization relocated the game to Denver after Georgia's lawmakers passed a series of election changes that led to national outcry. Now, new legislation is being introduced by Lee along with Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. It would strip Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption, which in plain terms allows the league to operate as a monopoly. The law was put in place 99 years ago by the Supreme Court.
Nor is there, to my knowledge, any decent argument why baseball is itself different from any of those other sports, or why Major League Baseball should enjoy exemptions not held by other corporations generally, regardless of whether they have anything to do with professional sports.
Senator Lee there describes this move against the MLB as, quote, legislative housekeeping.
Well, after our big wind event yesterday, I think some folks were ready to move on, but Mother Nature obviously is not. Allison?
Yes, we are still dealing with this storm through Friday. It's a slow-moving storm, but our downslope wind portion of it has now gone off to our east. The storm is going to continue tracking towards our east, and that wind has subsided. And so right now what we're tracking is our thunderstorms. Now, our strongest thunderstorms have also passed. We had those during the last hour and a half for Utah County. Still tracking the possibility of rumbles of thunder and also some grapple, but the bulk of our larger hail, which we were seeing reports Saratoga Springs and other portions of Utah County, the hail was to about 1/2 inch in diameter with wind gusts around 40 miles per hour and lightning. But still tonight, still some weaker thunderstorms possible, and for southern Utah, red flag warnings. So here's the setup. It's warm and windy and dry for southern Utah, and that's why we have the fire concerns. And then for the rest of the state, we do have areas of rain and snow. So here's what we've had the last hour or so. Utah County has been seeing the heaviest of that precipitation and the bulk of our lightning. So these are now moving off to the east. They're also diminishing in strength. And what we have going on for the rest of the evening, still some scattered showers, areas of winter driving conditions. That's why up in the Cottonwood Canyons, the traction law is back into effect. So occasional winter driving conditions with this setup for this evening. And we're going to continue with scattered showers here across the northern 2/3 of the state on and off through Friday, so we are not done yet. Now for tonight, our red flag warnings will be expiring at 9 o'clock for southern Utah. That's when we're going to have our strongest winds. And then for the mountains of northern Utah, we have winter weather advisories in place. This will be until midnight tonight as well. So here across the state, we've had quite a bit of snow that's come down up in the canyons up towards Park City. Park City Resort is already closed, but they have picked up a foot of snow today. So yeah, it's a lot of snow, but not unheard of for a spring system, but it is performing as expected as far as that precipitation goes. Tomorrow morning, we'll have some snow mixing in again. Also, Deer Valley, another resort that is closed for the season, getting some snow today. Lots of lower clouds, as you can see above the view right now. Out towards Jordanelle, also socked in with quite a bit of cloud cover. Southern Utah, mostly clear skies. Zion National Park. Our wind is gusting in Ogden at 17 miles per hour, but still our windiest conditions are across southern Utah currently. But let's look at this future cast. Through the rest of this evening, we will continue with areas of scattered rain and snow through 9-10 o'clock tonight and through the evening hours, picking up again early tomorrow morning through central Utah. Occasional winter driving conditions possible. And then come tomorrow afternoon, here's what I want to point out for tomorrow night's commute. Our setup is going to be a little different as the storm continues to shift, and we're going to see the storms then moving from north to south. So our setup has been right now from south to north, essentially northwest, from the southwest to the northeast. So the pattern is going to shift a little bit tomorrow afternoon. And then the storm is going to be off towards our east, and this is going to be a very strong storm. Look at this, just really firing up into Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas come Friday. So our wind will die down across the south tonight. We wake up tomorrow morning to much calmer conditions and overnight temperatures in the 30s and 40s. So that's why we're going to see some snow getting mixed in even to the valley floors tomorrow morning. But but don't expect a lot of accumulating snow for the valleys. Tomorrow afternoon will be about 30 to 45 with potentially that shift from our storm pattern into the second half of the day. St. George around 70 through Saturday, and then close to 80 for Monday and Tuesday. For the Wasatch Front, we're close to 50 through Friday, warming up this weekend around 60 degrees. And then early next week, a few more chances for rain and snow. We'll talk more about that coming up in the next full forecast.
Could we see health restrictions be lifted in just a matter of weeks?
Just gets better and better every week.
Fox 13's Ben Winslow has an exclusive look at what lawmakers are working on right now.
Have you seen one of these cards? See what the state has to say about these mask exemption certificates and what conditions would allow you to not wear a mask in public.
They have all these skills. They've been teaching lessons and speaking in church since they were 4 years old.
And hear about the ambitious goals one group has in mind to help get women in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints become leaders in our society.
Well, your calculators can rest easy tonight and tomorrow.
All right, Bob, we're catching a break here. For most of us this year, tomorrow, April 15th, is not tax day. Yeah. Big sigh of relief from Bob. The IRS has delayed the federal tax filing deadline until May 17th. It gives individual filers, tax preparers, and the IRS a chance to look at any changes that may affect this year's filings. There are, however, two exceptions. Anyone who pays estimated taxes, like many small business owners do, they still must make their usual payment by April 15th.
Dollar General is hiring up to 20,000 new employees this spring. The discount chain is hosting an in-person virtual hiring event all next week. Positions will support stores, distribution, transportation, and corporate operations. Dollar General has more than 17,000 stores in 46 states, including Utah. To find out more, go to fox13now.com.
The Ford Mustang has been crowned the world's best-selling sports car for the second year in a row right now. That's according to data from IHS Markit. Now, the Mustang also ranked the top sports coupe for the 6th year in a row. It's a good-looking car, isn't it? It sold more than 80,000 vehicles worldwide just last year. The iconic car is also celebrating a big milestone this coming Saturday. Its 57th birthday.
Investors sold technology shares today, sapping momentum from major stock indexes as volatility continued to reverberate around the market. The Dow gained 54 points to finish at 33,731. The Nasdaq lost 138. The S&P dropped 17.
There is a lot more news ahead in our next half hour. Still to come, it may be just a matter of time before all health restrictions are lifted in the Beehive State. We'll have an exclusive update for you on what's being worked out right now on Utah's Capitol Hill.
You may have heard the British variant of COVID-19 has taken over as the most dominant in the U.S. That's not true in Utah and a lot of other places. We'll show you what is true and what it says about who we are.
A controversial new law that lifted the statewide mask mandate may start lifting a lot of other COVID-related restrictions soon.
Ben Winslow has the exclusive story from Utah's Capitol Hill.
Under the COVID-19 endgame law the legislature passed and the governor signed, health restrictions are lifted as certain benchmarks are met. And the House Speaker tells me that may be just a few weeks away.
Just gets better and better every week.
Legislative leaders are happy with the progress Utah is making in battling COVID-19. Cases are down, vaccinations are up. The bill the legislature passed that lifted the statewide mask mandate will now lift other health restrictions once Utah hits certain metrics.
We're probably 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks away.
Here's where we are right now. We've already met the marks for COVID patients in the ICU and case rates, but the delay is with vaccines.
We need to be careful still. There's members of our community that haven't had an opportunity to get a vaccine that want one. And we need to be mindful and respectful of those folks until they get that opportunity.
Utah's Department of Health says the state is making great progress in meeting the metrics under the new law. The agency says it's monitoring them closely and will be prepared to adjust course if another surge of the virus happens.
People are getting vaccinated, the response is good, but you still have pockets in especially in my district on the west side of Salt Lake City and West Valley, where the vaccination rates are extremely low.
Senate Minority Whip Luz Escamilla says vaccine rates in her district are around 20% compared to 60% in other parts of the state.
It worries me that we feel too relaxed, that we may end up in a surge. So I'm glad that the numbers continue to look positive.
Meanwhile, the legislature will meet in a special session next month to spend federal COVID stimulus money. Utah is getting as much as $8 billion from the feds. Lawmakers will appropriate about $1.5 billion.
Obviously, infrastructure projects.
Lawmakers will spend on transportation. The Senate president says he'd also like to see money spent on increasing internet access. Some lawmakers may try to lift the mask mandate for schools. The Senate president says he'd like a timeout on more COVID-related bills.
Right now, I think we need to just maybe take a deep breath and to celebrate the fact that we are the best economy in the entire nation, that we're moving vaccines out. We've almost got between 40 to 50% of our population with first vaccinations.
And that special session will happen in May. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Both Republican and Democratic leaders on Utah's Capitol Hill have outlined a list of priorities they'd like to tackle in the next year. Included on the list, mental health services, digital equity and data privacy, child care affordability, fees for using certain roads instead of the gas tax, also transgender youth, elections, and creating a new authority to oversee Utah Lake. Now, those issues could become bills in the 2022 legislative session.
My goodness, if you were bored by the weather, I don't know, you need a checkup from the neck up. That's, I'll tell you
And the
what.
weather is not over, that's for sure.
That is correct.
Yes, it's been a pretty complex system set up here over the next couple of days that will continue. So we started with the canyon winds, then we had the gusty downslope winds, and then today winter weather for the mountains and thunderstorms for Utah County. Now, right now we're just looking at lighter to moderate rain from Lehigh down through Payson. That was not the case in the last hour when we had some thunderstorms that rolled through. They brought about ½ of an inch of hail, some pea-sized hail as well, and then also lots of lightning and gusty conditions. Now, still very gusty across southern Utah, and it's also very dry. That's where we have our red flag warnings. So it's still very windy right now. Moab, Blanding, Bryce over towards Cedar City, and then it's also breezy Evanston, Vernal, and Ogden. So we still will have some pockets of wind. It's just not the same setup as our downslope wind event that we had earlier this morning and last night. So temperatures right now here across the state feels like it's about freezing for Salt Lake and Provo. Really, this wind is making a big difference. We do have those temperatures for southern Utah. Since you're above 50 degrees, you don't have a wind chill that goes into effect, but it can feel a little bit warmer actually compared to the actual temperature. But here's what you need to know for the rest of the night here in Salt Lake. We'll continue with a chance for a few showers over the next few hours, kind of on and off, and even into tomorrow. And while our strongest thunderstorms have passed for Utah County, still some thunder and graupel possible and fire concerns for southern Utah. Your full forecast is coming up.
Allison, thank you. West Valley City Police are asking for your help identifying a vehicle involved in a shots fired incident outside an elementary school last Thursday. Authorities say a gray Nissan Murano, this one, I'm hoping you can see it, there it is, was spotted leaving the scene at the Pinnacle Highbury Apartments near the Neil Armstrong Academy. It was shot at several times and will likely have bullet holes or a shattered driver's side window. They believe at least one person inside the vehicle was a minor. If you have any information that can help, call West Valley City Police at 801-840-4000.
Utah's Alcohol Control Authority is reversing itself now on beer-to-go sales. The DABC was reviewing state liquor laws and found a conflict, so they started telling bars and restaurants they cannot sell beer to go. That put a stop to things like growlers in certain circumstances. But after pushback from the hospitality industry, the DABC says it will allow the sale to continue while it continues to work with the legislature to clarify the law.
A new report is weighing the potential cost versus benefit of mosquito abatement along the Wasatch Front. We spoke in depth today at noon with Dr. Brian Mensch, founder of Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. He is also the author of a report that says the pesticides being used have lost their effectiveness against mosquitoes. He says new research suggests they could be increasing the risk of autism spectrum disorder in unborn babies and infants.
If we examine the medical literature on all the environmental exposures that are related to autism, at the very top of the list are two things that are a real problem in Utah. And one is pesticides and another is air pollution.
The Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District has released a response to the report. It says SLC-MAD has historically utilized the latest science and information available to make informed decisions about mosquito surveillance and control measures. And all of these measures are within full compliance of regulatory laws and fully supported by federal agencies.
There's a new organization that aims to get more women in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to run for public office. It's called Project Elect. They say all levels of politics are missing out on a very important voice, that being women in the LDS faith. The organization is not affiliated with the church, but the Media Relations Department of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says the group's efforts are consistent with the recent teachings from General Conference. Project Elect says LDS women often do not see themselves as a qualified candidate, and they may just need a little convincing to go ahead and make that leap.
They have all these skills. They've been teaching lessons and speaking in church since they were 4 years old, and in leadership roles and collaborating and doing all these things and developing all these skills in church callings. They're ready to run.
And I like this idea. One way women can encourage one another is by downloading a digital certificate on the group's website and then sending it to a woman they believe has a skill that qualifies her to run for public office. We can link you over to that website off of ours. Just go to fox13now.com. Still ahead, learn about a new partnership between University of Utah Health and Real Salt Lake, what it means for the future of both groups.
When you can't watch Fox 13 News Live, watch us streaming online for free on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Just search Fox 13 on your device to watch the news on your time. Two of Utah's biggest organizations are teaming up.
That's right. University of Utah Health announced today it is now the exclusive official healthcare provider for Real Salt Lake. The 7-year partnership also includes the Real Monarchs, the RSL Youth Development Academy as well. It will provide both players and staff with access to the U's sports medicine and clinical care clinics.
Whether it's in their clinics or in our facilities that they bring in, we're able to bring the latest technology to increase their health and take care of them so they can perform on the field and represent our organization.
University of Utah Health also serves as the official healthcare provider for the Utah Jazz, the Salt Lake City Stars, and the Salt Lake Bees.
A new study from Utah State University and Cornell University found that in tiny bits of plastic, it could be traveling in the atmosphere and around the globe, just in those little tiny pieces. Researchers collected data from the western U.S. from 2017 to 2019. They found about 22,000 tons of microplastics are being deposited across the U.S. each and every year. The research team found 18% of plastic waste ends up in the environment.
The annual Great Utah Shakeout is scheduled for 10:15 tomorrow morning, testing response in the event of a major earthquake. Different siren tones will be tested at all siren locations, and a code red message will be sent out. First responders say this is a good time to think about your emergency supplies and plans in case of an earthquake or other issue.
Always good to be prepared.
Yep.
With face mask requirements changing, schools and businesses are facing a new challenge. Still ahead, why these cards on your screen could get people in a lot of trouble.
Imagine playing for your idol. We talked to a couple of Utah Valley soccer players after learning that Kyle Beckerman was going to be their new head coach. And it's been a great spring for quarterback Charlie Brewer for the Utes. Coming up, we'll hear from the Baylor transfer.
530 new cases of COVID-19 today. The positivity rate is sitting at 7.7%. Some good news, no new deaths to report. And more than 1.7 million vaccine doses have now been administered in Utah, and more than 714,000 Utahns are considered fully vaccinated.
You know, we hear a lot about variants of coronavirus, but we don't hear a lot about how prevalent different variants are here in the state of Utah. It turns out, just like so many other things, we get our share of viruses with neighbors, but just next door from state to state.
Fox 13's Max Roth goes in depth for us this afternoon.
Sometimes we humans like to think of ourselves as separate from the natural world. We exist in our minds, but a virus proves us wrong better than just about anything. These swirly lines on a map from the Nature Conservancy show how animal migrations will need to shift with climate change. We humans can be mapped by language, as Josh Katz showed us in his book Speaking American. The American South and East Coast put caramel, not caramel, on their ice cream. Talking to a group, we say, you guys. Everyone from Texas East and South says, y'all. COVID is showing us how much viruses follow geography. California has a homegrown variant, B1427 and B1429. And yes, as California goes, so goes the West. It's the biggest strain on the coast and through to Utah. Not many Texans or Floridians have it, and it's barely made a mark in New York. The UK variant, B117, is the most common nationwide, but it's a distant second to California. It is on its way, moving from Colorado and Idaho through Utah. It's dominating, though, east of the Rockies, half the cases in Florida, and propelling Michigan's worst in the nation outbreak. But not New York yet. Like California, their variant, B1526 and 1525, that's homegrown. Just like their pronunciation of crayfish, instead of what we know as the real way, crawfish. The UK variant will most likely become dominant because it seems to be more transmissible than the others already here. But looking at the map, you realize that we are who we are and what we are, in large part because of where we are. In the newsroom, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, now that the statewide mask mandate is over, cities, counties, and even individual businesses are free to have a mandate of their own.
As Fox 13's Spencer Joseph reports, that has some people looking for a way to get around the rules.
It's certainly frustrating for us, right? Because it causes confusion.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, there has been a debate over masks. But Tuesday, the Utah Department of Health released this photo, a new attempt to circumvent mask restrictions, a fake mask exemption card that looks a little too real for comfort.
It does hurt efforts around not just, businesses choosing to enact their own mask requirements, but for people who genuinely need an exemption or in those situations where masks are not required, it really muddles that water.
For Sean Miller, owner of Park Cafe.
No one's trying to come in without a mask so far.
He hasn't seen anyone try to use this card, but was shocked when we showed it to him.
Man, that looks official. That's crazy. Looks like it has like a bunch of highlighted issues that are allowing exemptions on it. Yeah, that looks official. I'm sure any employee would probably feel like that was an official card.
The card shows the Utah seal, the signature of Richard Saunders, director of the Utah Department of Health, and even the Utah Department of Health's telephone number.
Without knowing this firsthand, it would probably have flown in, and probably I would have allowed it.
And that's scary for businesses or schools where this card has already been tried. The Utah Department of Health wants you to know this.
The state health department, the local health departments, we do not give out mask exemption cards.
And ultimately, their hope as restrictions ease.
We just ask that they please not harass, employees and business owners and school secretaries and the principal over this. It's not the appropriate way to handle that.
Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, for your information, there are only 3 face mask exemptions allowed by the state health department for the general public. They are: if a child is under the age of 3, if someone is unconscious, incapacitated, or not able to remove the mask, or if someone has a serious mental health or medical condition that prevents them from wearing a mask. In schools, students are only exempt if they are a part of an individualized education program or IEP. There are also specific situations such as eating that are outlined by the Department of Health where it is okay not to wear a mask or isn't feasible to do so.
We're seeing some very gusty wind right now. This is a live look, Highway 40. I know the reason I wanted to show this, it doesn't look like there's a lot happening because low visibility currently, but the camera is bouncing around and you can see at the very bottom of your screen some of those headlights. So we do have winter driving conditions, areas of low visibility. And as we track some thunderstorms for the Wasatch Front across Utah County, we had areas of hail and lots of lightning here across northern Utah. So here's satellite and radar right now here across far northern Utah. We do have quite a bit of that snowfall coming down along the Wasatch Mountains and Wasatch Back. We do have traction laws now in effect for the Cottonwood Canyons, and then west of I-15 from Richfield down towards Washington County, some areas of lighter rain. Still very gusty across southern Utah because of our storm setup. It's just been warm and breezy, and that's why we do have those red flag warnings in effect until 9 o'clock tonight for southern Utah. So for tonight, we'll have a few showers for the Wasatch Front for the evening drive, have a few thunderstorms for Utah County, and come tomorrow morning, we still have the chance for rain and snow on and off here across the state over the next couple of days. So futurecast here across Utah. Scattered showers through the evening. So by 8 o'clock tonight, we will still continue with the chance for rain and snow here across the region. But then keep your eye on central Utah through the overnight hours. That's where we're going to see the bulk of our snow this evening. And over the next couple of days will be for the mountains of central Utah. And then come tomorrow afternoon, here's what I want to point out. Time frame, dinner time tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We now see the storms shifting from north towards the south. So that will move through the Wasatch Front. And then this storm will continue with some lingering showers through the day on Friday, especially for western Utah. Then we'll see a break for most of the weekend. And then early next week, Monday afternoon, the chance for some more valley rain and mountain snowfall. So forecast snow totals here across the state. This will be through Friday morning. I mentioned the bulk of that snow for the mountains of central Utah right along I-70 and over towards Richfield along I-15. That's where we're going to see about 3 to 6 more inches of snow. And for the mountains of northern Utah, we're mostly looking at a few more inches of snow as well. For the benches, we have had winter driving conditions, especially the mountain passes. As I showed you that camera just a few minutes ago, from Highway 40 right at Kearns Boulevard along the Wasatch Back Park City area. We're looking at low visibility, winter driving conditions over towards Strawberry Reservoir. So keep in mind, if you are planning on driving along our higher mountain passes, we'll have occasional winter driving conditions from now until Friday, so make sure your car is prepared. Overnight temperatures will be around 30 to 40 for the Wasatch Front, 20s for the mountains. And then for tomorrow afternoon, we'll have highs around 50 to 60 degrees. St. George, you're close to 70 through Friday, upper 60s for Saturday. Then we warm back up Sunday into next week, 75 to 80. And for Salt Lake City, temperatures in the upper 40s through Thursday, close to 50 for Friday, and then close to 60 degrees Saturday and into next week. A few more clouds on Monday, along with a chance for some more showers to move through Monday afternoon.
Well, the big story this week was former RSL captain Kyle Beckerman being named the new head soccer coach at Utah Valley University. Over half of the players on the Wolverine roster are from Utah, so many of them grew up idolizing their new head coach.
I think everybody was just shocked. That was the thing. We were all just shocked. We couldn't believe it. It was almost like, is that him? That's really Kyle Beckerman? He's going to be our coach. We're going to be working with him every day. Just having grown up watching him play on TV and obviously there at the stadium at Rio Tinto.
I did hear some rumors about Kyle stepping in, but those were kind of like, I don't know about that. And then he announced it, and it was a real big shock, especially for me and some of the other academy guys that have come in. We've trained with them. We've looked up to him as one of those guys.
After playing 14 games in 23 days, the Jazz will have 2 straight days without a game for the first time in 4 weeks before hosting the Indiana Pacers on Friday afternoon. Jazz rallied back from a 17-point deficit to beat Oklahoma City Thunder. Jazz were without Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, and Jordan Clarkson, so backups like Jarrell Brantley were called upon. He scored 10 points in 22 minutes, helping the Jazz get the win.
It's amazing to be out there with the number one team and to learn on a day in and day out basis. Today is just a day where I get to show it, show that I've been paying attention and learning. And I got a lot of guys to learn from, so for me, it's a blessing. I'm on the number one team in the league. My job is to be a sponge, learn, and when the opportunity comes, help the team. So I had the opportunity to do so today, and hopefully I get another opportunity. It's amazing. These moments are amazing. Today was amazing. So I don't know what tomorrow holds, but today was amazing.
Today was amazing indeed. The final week of spring practices for the Utah football team, head coach Kyle Whittingham said great things about quarterback Charlie Brewer. The senior transfer from Baylor will battle Cam Rising for the starting job this fall after a smooth transition to the Utes.
I think it's been, a lot of people around me, coaches, teammates, have made it a really, really smooth transition for me. Collectively as a group, I think, especially on offense, we've gotten better each practice, which is, kind of what you hope for, is to, improve every day. And, I think we've done that as a whole. For me personally, I feel like it's been a smooth transition where it's allowed me to just go out and play.
The Utes and Aggies will have their spring games this Saturday. We'll be right back.
Our view from the Intermountain camera pointed north. My, what a gray and gloomy day today.
Yeah, and we're going to continue with chances for rain and snow on and off through Friday, so keep that in mind.
All right, that hail we were seeing earlier in Utah County, Allison, has that now stopped?
Yes, the hail, those storms, we had some thunderstorms in Utah County about an hour and a half ago, and those have weakened, and now we're just seeing some remaining lighter rain and also winter driving conditions for the mountains.
All right, stay warm and dry, everyone, tonight. Thanks for being with us.
We'll see you tonight for Fox 13 News at 9.